The time is now for Texas A&M. You can't wait. You can't sit around. You can't get complacent. You got to do it now. Jimbo alluded to the fact that between week 1 and week 2, coaches always say that's when most of the improvement happens in a team because that's when you finally get your tangible evidence that you can adjust, tweak, and look at. You can see what the final form was based on all of your off-season training and fall practice. All of the kinks, or a lot of the kinks, need to be worked out by this Miami game, and App State gives a great opportunity to do that for Texas A&M. Now, we saw the issues offensively. We saw the success defensively. How much of that is real and how much of that is fool's gold? It's hard to tell. It's one game. But you can see a lot of promise from the defense. You can see a lot of question marks from the offense just in that small sample size. Things that will be worked on during camp or during practice this week. So where does most improvement need to happen? Where does the status quo need to be held? And where do tweaks need to be made? Let's talk about it, and I'm going to do this in order of most urgent to less urgent. We'll start with offensive side of the ball because obviously there are some issues there. Specifically on the O-line. Surprisingly to a lot of us, you're starting 3 new offensive linemen this year, and this fall camp I was harping on the fact that A&M had 3 really good returning starters. That's a good amount of continuity. And on the O-line, you're working with thin margins there. If you go from 3 to 2, that's 20% lower. So there's only 2 returning starters there with Bryce Foster out. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out. So this week in practice, they're likely doing personnel stuff for App State. They're likely adding a few new plays, a couple new wrinkles, and just doing some drill work to keep things crisp, some scrimmaging, some game situations. But I guarantee you this week, they're working the twist. They're working some weird blitzes because we saw that was the big weakness of this offensive line. There's a lot of work to be done there. And I promise you that is in the forefront of practice this week. I played O-line. I know that you don't practice twists every day. I know you might only hit it a few times during camp. You don't work twists every day. It's not part of your regular routine. You work your steps. You work your punch, you work contact, you work the fundamentals more than anything as an offensive lineman. And the twists you'll do every now and then, every couple weeks maybe. I think that it was not expected that Sam Houston used them so often, but like I said, that's on tape now. And people know that really threw off the offensive line. So they're definitely working that this week. They're definitely going to be ready for that. And they also got their feet wet. They played a game. You had 2 first-time starters. Aki, who hadn't started since early in the year last year, he eventually had to be moved because he wasn't ready assignment-wise, a lot of blown assignments. And we saw a lot of that from him again, maybe a little bit cleaner than what we saw last year. But I'm a little worried about that side of the line just going forward because we saw the same stuff from Aki last year. And we saw it again week 1 versus Sam Houston, just not getting the assignment, a lot of blow-bys, a lot of things like that. But I am happy to see that there's more experience under the belt. It's a point of emphasis. And having that first game done, they should be able to slow things down, focus more on the little things within the game. And for Trey Zune, that's more violence. For all 3 of them, that's more assignment, communication, reading, just getting it right, and thinking on the fly. And that is very hard to do in a first game. So there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up on this O-line. A lot of different things. And I don't expect it all to be cleaned up in 1 week, unfortunately. But I do expect to see tangible progression from week 1 to week 2. Because if you don't see it from week 1 to week 2, I don't know how much you're going to see of it immediately. It'll be a while. It'll be a work in progress if we don't see significant change this week. That's my opinion. That's what I think. That's just, haven't seen it before. I think you either flip it on and things are making more sense once you get the thing slowed down, or it's going to be a work in progress, drilling, getting it hammered in practice. Maybe a little bit of both. But I really think we need to see it from week 1 to week 2, especially before competition significantly heightens. App State's pretty good. I'm not really doing an App State breakdown right now, but good offense. A&M should be able to get some work done on the offensive side of the ball. I think A&M matches up nicely with them. But yeah, offensive line, please improve. Haynes King, I'm less worried about Haynes King than I am the offensive line, as I mentioned. I saw the tools. I saw what Haynes King works with. He's a willing down the field passer. He was accurate in many of his medium range balls, and he didn't really want to throw the short range balls. He didn't want to hit the easy ones. He didn't throw any of the open checkdowns really until a little bit in the second half. But I really look for him to start doing that. I look for the checkdown, the easy ones, taking what's given as a point of emphasis this week in practice, it being hammered in after getting that first game experience in, and I look for a lot of him taking what the defense is giving him this week. I look for that. I think there's a lot of deep ball stuff on tape, just the one game sample size of Haynes King this year as a new starter. That's what you have to work with. I think that'll be there, and I think he will take it. Maybe to a fault because it's going to be such a point of emphasis, but we'll take it because there are home run threats within that scheme. There are home run threats within the short game. Some of those players can just take the ball and go. I mean, we saw Evan Stewart, what he could do on some of those crossing routes. We know what Anais can do. A-Chain, Yul Keith. I mean, these guys can all take it and run. I look for that to be a big point of emphasis, and Haynes will take the easier ones as they come this week. Freaking slide, Haynes. Slide, dude. He was getting spun around, hit, dragged down, twisted up, pulling up his pants, straightening his helmet up way too much this last game. All his own fault. He's scrambling, running for a few yards, and just trying to stay up. First of all, I don't think a body like that, a guy like Haynes, is going to be breaking a lot of tackles, especially in the SEC. I don't think he's going to be squirting through small spaces with his lanky build. He needs to go down. He didn't slide once last game. And we saw what happened to him last year. He broke his leg and missed the season. So I'm worried about that. He didn't look to slide at all. He needs to slide. I hope that's a point of emphasis. I want Haynes King to slide. I mean, we don't want another season getting derailed for him. That would just suck. And then the last thing for Haynes that I want to see is his deep balls were great, but most of them were underthrown, including that one to Evan Stewart that could have been a touchdown that was almost picked off, but it was swatted by the safety coming across. He puts more on that ball. That's a touchdown. The Yul Keith and Anais touchdowns, all three of them, yes, they were good balls, but they were a little bit short. He needs to put more oomph on these balls because it's there. And I don't know if it was nerves. I know he has the arm. We've seen him overthrow a bunch of people. We've seen him throw the deep ball. But I just feel like he needs some more power on these deep balls, some more oomph, some more air. He needs to throw these receivers open a little bit more. And overall, he got his first game of the year done. He's played one game. He's played one full game. This was his second full game, first one in a year. So doing what he did was, we wished it was a little cleaner. But I would say he threw 3 picks in his last first game, if you will. I think it was expected that he would have some of those issues maybe come again. Same kind of situation. But now we get to see what happens next. Because last year we didn't get to see what happens next. We didn't get to see what that Colorado game would have been for him. Really excited to see that for Haynes. What is his response? How does Haynes King respond? We'll find out, and that's very exciting. Tight ends, please get healthy. Please. I mean, I'm asking for something that you can't control, so please. But Blake Smith, Max Wright, both out with injury. Both could have been great blocking tight ends, maybe have some receiving upside, but not necessarily. That's not their strong suit. Or at least it's not Max's, who would have been playing mostly. I don't know the status of them. Max was in crutches, so I'm not very hopeful. What I want to see is more Donovan Green, more Jake Johnson. Crownover was a cool experiment. You throw him out there as the extra tackle tight end role. I think he's a multi-year project. I like the idea of him being what you need to be. Plug him in at tight end or tackle wherever you need him. But he is so raw. He looked a little lost out there, more so than the rest of the guys. And I think he's just a couple years away. I think he's a guy you need a long development process with, and I think he always was that guy. But I really liked some of the things I saw from Donovan Green after watching the tape. Really good blocker. He was strong in the run blocking game, and that's what A&M really needs. I don't know what he's like schematically or assignment-wise. I don't know how reliable he is there being so young and being that we already have these issues on the O-line. But just that physicality alone, the ability to stay on a body. Love to see more Donovan Green. In the 2 tight end set, I think Jake Johnson could be a great receiving tight end now. But that's just based on whispers and camp footage. So I look for more Donovan Green for sure this game. And less Crownover, unfortunately. He's going to be good. His body, you can't deny his body's athleticism. He's going to be good. Wide receivers. I want to see more of the same in the receiving game. I mean, they were crisp. I don't think I can think of many drops besides one by A-Chain, but he's not a receiver. He'll clean that up. But if they play how they were playing in the passing game last game, getting open, running after the catch, just being fast and athletic, I think this wide receiver core can do a lot of great things as Haynes King sharpens up. So I want to see that be maintained. I don't want to see any complacency there. Obviously, that can be set across the board where you're successful. But they were really successful last week, especially those young guys. Let's see how those 2 true freshmen respond. Chris Marshall and Evan Stewart. They had some production in their first college game. I have a feeling they're still hungry, though. I do want to see a little bit of improvement in the blocking game. I saw a lot of corners getting in on the run game quite a bit, and the receivers just moving up to the next level to block after they get beat. I want to see that, more physicality there. I know Chris Marshall and Evan Stewart definitely can do it, and it's funny that I'm talking about receiver blocking as an Aggie. That's like the running joke, right? That all the receivers do is come to A&M is to block. Yeah, last week proved that I don't think that's going to be the case this year. This receiver core they're going to be nasty. I want to see Ainias maintain his career start to a season. I mean, when have we seen Ainias look so crisp in the receiving game? He looked great. Fielded punts great. I mean, underrated aspect, didn't do anything with it, but every punt was secure, making good decisions in the punt return game. But I want to see Ainias maintain that level of play, getting open, blocking, just being Ainias and just playing free and not having these off games, just being consistent every single game, showing the NFL what he is. That's why he's back for his senior year. I look for Ainias to maintain his leadership status. And then finally, A-Chain. Like I said last video, if you tell the story of the O-line, you tell the story of A-Chain, mostly because they were only running him through the tackles, which I found surprising. And I also chalk that up to maybe Jimbo being conservative with play calling and not showing too much, which Jimbo has always been known to do. Are we going to do any outside run versus App State, who has shown they can score? Are you going to try to open things up a little bit more? Are you going to do more diversion stuff in the triple option, more zone reads, which we ran a couple of, not too much success, but just more outside stuff, more quick hitters on the outside, more screens? Is there going to be more of an effort to get A-Chain outside the tackles this game? It might be the game where it starts. I had been saying that is what they need to do, since he's not the body that you want banging in between SEC tackles all game long. Game 1 surprised me in that regard, but then again, it was Sam, and Jimbo does like to hold back some of his playbook. So I look for A-Chain to have more success this game regardless, even if he's going between the tackles, because I think the O-line will show, if only marginal, improvements this game in the run game. I look for A-Chain to definitely improve this game, and I'm not worried about it. It's not something that I think is going to be an issue, because I think they'll find a way to get him involved. And he might have just he was probably out of rhythm that last game too. I mean, O-line, weather, a lot of weird things. I think A-Chain will be fine, but I want to see improvement in week 2. I want to see it before A&M gets into that heightened competition. Moving on to the defense, where obviously there are less questions so far. I think the biggest overall question is that the defense we can expect going forward? It's very young. How consistent will they remain? Because game 1s can be fool's gold. You don't know if that's how the team will maintain throughout the year, or if they're going to get better, or if they're going to drop. You don't know. So I look for the coaching staff this week to be on them hard, because if they get any kind of complacency being so young in their rotation, it could be a kiss of death in one of these big games. I mean, they fall asleep during Mississippi State. Mississippi State's defense looks really good. Offense looks really good. It could be a big issue. So consistency will be the name of the game for this young defense. And obviously that youth starts at the D-line. When you're talking about the young players, you're talking about this defensive line. When you're talking about freshmen playing, the defensive line has a huge freshman rotation, obviously, and we love to see it. A lot of them had a lot of success. But keep it up. Don't let that be just a small sample size serving and you're fat on it and it's done. And then you're just having issues. You want to see that same rotation go out there, and you want to see a lot of improvement. Collapse the pocket even more. They were breaking the pocket, but the quarterback had a couple seconds every now and then. Destroy the pocket. Be better. Just get better. I want to see an emphatic solo sack by one of these freshmen. We had Shamar Turner get a sack last game. It was kind of a coverage sack / he had pressure all over the place. I want to see an end or a tackle just beat his man and get in there and smash the quarterback. I want to see that happen this game. I think App State has an offense that you can do that against. They gave up 60 to North Carolina. I think A&M can have some major success on the defense if they don't get complacent. Linebackers, where's Andre White's health at? I thought he had a good first game. I thought he was flying around. Thought he looked better than ever. Where's his health at? That's not a deep position. I mean, honestly, if he sits precautionary, that's maybe okay. But if he's able to play and play to his fullest, I think that's the best case scenario. Because if you get Andre down and then someone else goes down, you're playing true freshmen who are, I think, that need some time. That probably could go out there and do a couple good things, but down needs some time. Chris Russell looks solid. Look to see him maintain that. And I want Edge Cooper to have some big moments this game. He was relatively quiet last game. I think he maybe had a tackle for loss or one big play. But, I want to see Edge start to make a name for himself. There'll be a little more eyeballs on this game this weekend. I want to see Edge take advantage of that and really start boosting up that draft stock. And same goes for Antonio Johnson. He had a quiet game last game too. I want to see more aggression. I want to see some big plays. And that goes for the whole defensive backcourt. Damani looked really good last game. He just was swarming to the ball. He just seemed like he was in every play. I want that to continue, and I want Damani to get his hands on a ball. That's something I want to see this year. And I can't wait to go watch more Jordan Gilbert. This guy flies around. He seems like he's going to be a turnover machine. He seems like he's going to be the kind of guy that gets at the right place at the right time to get his hands on the ball. I can't wait to see him. I'm so high on this guy. He's going to be so much fun to watch. And I really want to be able to watch Jalen Jones. Supposed to be practicing this week. I want to see him start. Brian George looked good. I don't know if he'll start for George or for Chappelle. Kind of want to see him start for Chappelle and just go with that huge defensive back group. That'd be kind of cool to see just those giants out there at DB all across the board. Jordan would be a little bit the smallest guy, but everybody else is huge. I mean, Damani looks like a linebacker right now. Antonio's always been big. Brian George is huge, and Jalen Jones is huge. I want to see that core, but if he starts for BG, that's fine too. I just want to see Jalen Jones back in there because we just know what kind of talent he is. We're excited to see what next steps he takes this year. I think he'll be back this game, and we hope he's back because App State has a high-powered offense. And then is Miles Jones going to play? Miles Jones got hurt in camp, senior leader, 7th-year senior. It's the kind of guy you just hope to have out there, padded up, permeating the team. And then finally, we'll talk about the kicking game briefly because there were some issues. A&M's always had a stellar kicking game. We fielded punts very well game one thanks to Anias, but the fake punt was not good and the kick out of bounds was not good. The missed field goal, it was a deep kick. You trust Caden Davis. I want to see all that clean up too, and I think it will. I think we'll have a great day at the office, kicking the ball, fielding the ball, doing all that stuff. I expect a much cleaner game. But that's about it. That's every position group I wanted to cover. I think that's literally every position group. But I want to say the time for improvement is now. I'm glad we're seeing the deficiencies right now. We saw them game one. We have this ramp up to the season because everything's coming really fast after the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks from now, September 17th, College Station Miami's coming to town, and they look good. Miami's a good team. You're going to have to be crisper that game. I don't think you have to be perfect, but you must be improved. That offensive line must improve. Haynes King must settle in. And A-Chain has to get going. But the time is now. If you wait a couple more weeks, this season could just blow right by you because the games don't stop. So I think it's a very, very big week for Texas A&M football. Week 1 to week 2 improvements. This is going to make or break the season, in my opinion. If you don't see improvement now, I'm going to be very worried about beating Miami because you're showing that this is going to be a trend, in my opinion, that the improvements will be a work in progress, and maybe you'll get it by halfway through the season. But what's still on the table by then? Have you lost 2 or 3 games by then? Because it's very possible. All your toughest games are coming right up. So the time is now. I think they'll perform. I think they'll step up to the plate. I'm actually taking A&M to cover. I think they match up very well with App State. It's a good chance to gain more rhythm. What do you guys want to see? Comment your biggest areas of improvement that you are looking for. Let me know what I should be looking for that I haven't mentioned. Or if I said it, emphasize it. What have I missed? But anyway, guys, if y'all could like and subscribe, that'd be great. I want to grow this thing. I want to bring y'all more and more content. If you could just hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. But until then, guys, let's have a fun week 2 of college football. Let's just enjoy it. A&M is undefeated. Let's go into there and have some fun. And let's watch some Aggie football. Gig 'em.